Well, good morning. My name's Andrew Johnston. I'm one of the pastors here at Bendigo Baptist Church, and it's great to be with you today. Well, Easter for us as a family this year was a little different. We would normally spend some time catching up with family and friends. We would connect into a local festival if there was one about, and we would look forward normally to spending some time with other believers, just remembering and celebrating what Christ has done at the cross. And it was very different for us this year. We, because of everything that is going on at the moment, we were in lockdown and spent our whole Easter at home, and it felt a little quiet. It felt like we had a lot of time on our hands, and it was a good time, but very different. One of the things that we did as a family is we sat down and watched the movie Risen. Risen is a movie that is based on or is told through the eyes of a Roman soldier who is given the task of looking for Jesus, the resurrected Jesus. And it was an engaging movie, and there's a scene kind of towards the end that just reminded me afresh of what we are called to do as followers of Jesus. The disciples had just seen Jesus ascend into heaven, and they were grappling with the task ahead that he had left them to do, to be and make disciples. And it was just good to see them wrestle with that, because I think all of us wrestle with what it means to be and make disciples. I guess for them, they would have had a sense of excitement, but also a fear would have sat in there for them, and that's no different for us. We are a people who it's an exciting thing to share our faith, but also can be challenging, and we can get a little anxious with that at times. And on Sunday we started a new sermon series here called Living a Bold Life, and it was a great start to the series. And Pastor David shared with us from Joshua chapter 1, and when you go back and you read Joshua chapter 1, you see that there's a couple of things that gets mentioned right through that chapter. Be strong and courageous. And I think about that for a moment, because Joshua would have he would have been feeling probably a little bit like the disciples, the challenge that was ahead for him. He had some big shoes to fill. He was about to lead God's people into the promised land, and he would have been feeling that sense of both excitement and fear. But right through this chapter, we see the words be strong and courageous. And I guess that's a message for each and every one of us today, is to, as we go about being and making disciples, to be strong and full of courage as we do that. And I think there's a key verse that I believe in this chapter will help us with that. And it's verse 8, and it says this. Do not let this book of the law depart from your mouth. Meditate on it day and night, so that you may be careful to do everything written in it. Then you will be prosperous and successful. You know, I think that's a key for us in living our lives, doing what Christ has asked us to do. It's interesting that Dave, in his introduction on Sunday, defined boldness as behaviour born out of belief. And I think that is a key for us. When we've got our belief structure right, when we've got the foundation of our identity bedded into something strong, then of course we're going to have that courage and we're going to have that strength to do what God has asked us to do. And I think right here in this passage, there's that key element for all of us to follow, which is to dive into God's Word, to build a knowledge of who He is, to build an understanding of who He is, and the understanding of what He has called called us to do based on His Word, that is going to give us the strength and the courage to be and make disciples in what would seem a difficult environment at the moment. And the Australian culture is not the easiest culture to do that well. And I think that we can be strong and we can be full of courage if we have our belief system and our identity right. And a part of doing that is to get into God's Word. You know, there's never a better time than right now, when we're in some sort of different season, to take the time that is there for us to spend reading God's Word, just understanding who He is and our purpose for this life. I want to encourage you this week, the rest of this week, going into the weekend, to spend some time just pondering, looking at, reading God's Word, thinking about it, because I know out of that our strength and our courage will take us to places that we've never been before. God bless you as you be and make disciples for the rest of this week and going into the weekend and in the weeks ahead. It's been good to be with you today. God bless.